Well, we are currently living in what might just be the ultimate paradox of our time. Think about it for a second. We all walk around with literal supercomputers in our pockets, right? We're technically more interconnected than any single generation in the entire history of human existence. And yet, the data keeps telling us the exact same story. We are increasingly feeling more isolated, more fragmented, and just completely socially fatigued. So in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the fascinating science behind why our digital tools, the very things designed to bring us all together, might actually be dismantling the biological hardware that makes us human in the first place.
So, why does the internet feel so incredibly lonely? Why does spending an hour on a social network so often leave us feeling, well, more drained than fulfilled? To answer this, and it's a deeply relatable question for pretty much all of us, we actually have to step away from the screen entirely. We need to look deep into our evolutionary neurobiology, specifically at something scientists call the we mode.
The we mode, which is also known in the research as collective intentionality, is basically the defining biological superpower of our species. Think back to early humans. Let's be honest, as isolated individuals, we were physically weak, we were slow, and we were highly vulnerable. But we survived and ultimately dominated because we developed this profound built-in capacity to form shared goals and operate as a unified group agent. We didn't just coordinate our actions, our minds actually linked up to build the incredibly complex, open-ended cultures that we live in today. Now, the we mode isn't just some vague psychological feeling or a neat metaphor. It is a highly active physical state. There are actually 4 neurobiological pillars that allow our brains to literally sync up when we are together in person. We've got behavioral synchrony, shared attention, interbrain coupling, and emotional attunement. This is the biological scaffolding of human connection. Let's break down just how powerful these physical processes really are.
Okay, look at this number. A massive meta-analysis that combined 42 independent studies and over 4,300 participants found something absolutely remarkable about that first pillar: behavioral synchrony. When humans move together in exact temporal synchronization, think of doing the wave at a stadium, or even just walking in perfect step with a friend down the street, it produces a highly significant 0.28 effect size on pro-social behaviors. This exact physical matching causes a neural overlap that literally blurs the cognitive boundaries in our minds between self and other.
And this brings us to a brilliant illustration of the second pillar, which is shared attention. When two people share the exact same physical space and lock eyes, that mutual gaze acts like a literal social tuning fork. Brain scans actually show that this simple act suppresses specific neural frequencies, like your alpha and mu bands, which effectively aligns your brain states. It's a biological tether that prepares both individuals for coordinated thought and action. You are quite literally tuning your brains to the exact same frequency.
But look at this stark contrast between his biological reality and our modern digital habits. The embodied we is messy, it's diverse, and it is highly neurobiologically active. On the flip side, the digital we that we've constructed is disembodied and frankly quite sterile. Think about your standard video call. You've got reduced eye contact, that annoying slight audio delay, and all those missing physical cues. Without those elements, interbrain coupling is just killed on contact. We're trying to socialize without actually engaging the biological hardware that was completely designed for it.
And it's not just the hardware. The platforms themselves are structurally altering how we connect. This data comes from a really extensive study of 10.1 million users by Bakshi and colleagues. Now, we know humans naturally gravitate toward people who think like them. That's user choice, which is the second bar there. But the study found that algorithmic curation on social media takes our natural human flaws and puts them on steroids. It essentially institutionalizes our biases, causing an additional 5 to 8% drop in exposure to diverse ideas. The architecture systematically reduces ideological diversity, seamlessly pushing us right into echo chambers.
This massive environmental shift has given rise to a behavior researchers are now calling sofalizing. Yes, socializing from the sofa. We are replacing the natural friction and physical presence of interaction with highly convenient, curated digital exchanges. And while this impacts absolutely everyone, it is deeply concerning for developing adolescent minds. The constant context collapse and the performative nature of these platforms fragment their sense of shared agency. It's actively replacing deep, meaningful social bonds with shallow, frictionless convenience.
So the really crucial point here is that this disconnection is escalating rapidly with the integration of artificial intelligence. Researchers are now warning us about the emergence of something called System Zero. We're so used to thinking of AI as just a tool, right? But it's actually becoming an invisible cognitive infrastructure.
System 0 is an algorithmic layer that modulates our thinking by pre-filtering, ranking, and curating reality before that information ever even reaches our conscious awareness.
We constantly hear about the inevitable triumph of teaming intelligence. This idea that humans and AI working together will always be better than either alone. But a massive meta-analysis of 106 experimental studies by Vaccaro and colleagues reveals a striking paradox. If the AI is already better at a given task than the human is alone, forcing them to collaborate actually results in a performance loss for the team. Human-AI teamwork only succeeds and only yields gains when the task is specifically matched to unique human strengths.
And when we hand over our creativity to AI, we face what researchers call algorithmic convergence. A really fascinating 2024 study by Doshi and Hauser found that using generative AI for creative tasks definitely makes the final product more technically polished, no doubt about it. But at the same time, the outputs become incredibly homogeneous. The stories lose their unique human spark. AI raises the floor for technical quality, for sure, but it drastically lowers the ceiling for diversity and open-ended human novelty.
As AI becomes more conversational, tech leaders are pitching it as a solution to our very real loneliness epidemic. Take a look at this quote, which suggests that AI systems can act as companions because they understand users the same way feed algorithms do. However, taking a completely neutral look at the scientific literature on authentic reciprocity reveals a very clear boundary here. Algorithmic simulation fundamentally lacks the emotional dissonance, the unpredictability, and that genuine biological bidirectional feedback required for real intersubjectivity. You know, that messy, true connection between two distinct human minds. AI provides the illusion of companionship, but totally without the real demands of friendship.
Section 1. The Comfort Growth Paradox.
Digital platforms are, let's face it, masterfully designed for comfort. They give us predictable, frictionless experiences that soothe us, but ultimately, they lead to closed-mindedness and cognitive stagnation. Real human growth, however, lives entirely on the other side of that equation. The famous psychologist Lev Vygotsky showed that true development requires moving through a zone of proximal development, a zone that is absolutely full of dissonance, ambiguity, messy friction, and interpretive challenge.
But here is the good news, so don't panic. The answer to the comfort growth paradox isn't a retreat into the dark ages. We literally do not need to throw away our phones. Instead, the research suggests an incredibly exciting paradigm shift. We have to reconceptualize our technology as an extension of embodied human connection rather than a replacement for it. The goal is to purposefully design our digital environments for productive discomfort. We actually have the power to build systems that challenge our minds rather than just pacifying them.
So how do we actually do that? The research outlines highly actionable steps. First, platforms need to introduce discovery modes. These are algorithms designed not to maximize comfort, but to deliberately expose users to thoughtfully divergent viewpoints. Second, we have to build phygital spaces. Think hybrid, augmented reality environments that leverage digital power while explicitly preserving the spatial awareness and physical nonverbal cues that are totally necessary for brain coupling. And third, we need to design co-adaptive human-AI teams, where the AI actually uses human discomfort as a signal to push our boundaries and promote team growth.
This leaves us with a critical reflection for our own daily lives. Take a real look at your own digital diet. Are you using technology to challenge your mind? To engage in the beautiful, messy, open-ended reality of the human we mode? Or are you merely using it to stay perfectly comfortable? The survival of our collective human creativity ultimately depends on exactly how we answer that question. Thanks for unpacking this explainer with me. Keep challenging yourself, and I'll see you next time.